This week's guest is so interesting. She left the corporate world so that she could focus on families and helping them tell their stories. So back with us again is Clemence Schouten from Memoirs and More. What are we talking about today, Clemence?
Well, this really is my favorite part. We're talking about family stories. When you think about the genealogy research that you did, and that really represents the skeleton of your family. And you think about all those photos and the documents that you organized and scanned and archived. Well, that's kind of the flesh, the muscle, and the skin of your skeleton, right? So now you have this body, but where's the soul? The soul of your family. That is what the stories are about. What did our ancestors dream about? What did they learn? How did they make decisions and choices in their lives? And even you don't have to go back that far in your ancestry, right? How did your parents or grandparents think about these things? What did they do in their life? That's, to me, really the meat of and the meaning that you can pass down to future generations to keep the thread of what family is about going.
So interesting. Assuming then that we're collecting all of this data, we're getting all of the information that we need to tell the story, then what are the options for sharing the story? Are we talking just verbal storytelling to the kids, or are we archiving and creating storybooks?
Well, both are options. You can absolutely, once you've selected a story you want to tell, whether you thought of them when you were looking through the photos or because you've always kind of wanted to write a memoir, you can do that different ways. You can use your phone. Just get a little tripod and set up your phone and record yourself telling a story. It can be a video, it can just be audio. It doesn't have to be complicated. And so that is absolutely an option. Another option is to write it down. So just sit there, find a quiet space and start writing out stories. And again, I can't stress enough, break it down into small tasks. If you sit down saying, I'm now going to write 300 pages about my life, it's not going to happen. Write about, your first memory, write about your mother, write about your father, do it in steps, and that will help you a lot.
What has been some of the feedback that your families have given you, why they may be glad that they took on this project?
Sure. So I don't do video personally. I just help people publish books. And every single client I've worked with so far has cherished these books. The author has cherished them, and the kids and grandkids cherish them, especially the kids. If you're under 20, how much do you care about family history? Usually not that much, but they will care when they're adults and have their own children. And part of what it is that you're able to present yourself and your story very impartially. And by that I mean that it's not kind of this lecture to your kid or grandkid about the value of money and the allowance I used to get and you spend too much money. All that goes away when you're actually producing a book. It just becomes storytelling, and everybody loves a good story.
So what would be a final step then, or a final bullet point you want to make about storytelling?
Sure. You can do stories on just about anything. It can be about yourself, of course. It can be about a specific person in your family. It can be about family traditions. It could be a book of recipes and the stories of the recipes that have been passed down through generations. A book about family trips, right? It can be a book of correspondence. So you discover, 50 letters that your parents wrote or grandparents wrote to each other when they were engaged. Scan those, make them a book. That's a story in and of itself, and you don't even have to write anything.
I just got chills. That's a beautiful way to wrap up this segment. So if you like the idea of telling your family story, you got to watch tomorrow's episode. We're going to talk about the printing resources available for publishing that story.